Right everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at a Game Week 3 wildcard draft. Now, I'm not on wildcard myself this week, but I know that a lot of people are, so I thought I'd make a video showing what my team would be if I were wildcarding this week. So let's get straight into it. The goalkeepers are actually the goalkeepers that I've got in my team. Valdemarson, that could be any 4 million goalkeeper, to be honest. Doesn't really matter who. Then I've got a Henderson. A lot of people aren't happy that Henderson hasn't got any points so far, but to be honest, I don't think he's any worse than any of the other 4.5 million goalkeepers. I don't think that right now there's a standout. Maybe you could argue that Sanchez is potentially a standout, but that's probably only because of the fixtures, to be honest. I don't think the Chelsea defence is any better than the Palace defence or the Brentford defence, to be honest. So, and if you're wildcarding in Game Week 3, you want this to be for long term. So the kind of fixtures in the short term don't really matter that much. So I think Henderson's absolutely fine, to be honest. But again, that could be any 4.5 million goalkeeper. There's not much between them at this point. So let's look at the defenders now. Okay, onto the defenders now, and I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold in there. I think that Liverpool's fixtures are pretty good for the short to medium term, and I think Liverpool are just good anyway, to be honest. He has racked up a decent amount of XGI so far. As expected, he has been pretty attacking, so I am happy to have him, I think, if I was wildcarding. Konsa, obviously the next 4 for Aston Villa are just fantastic fixtures, so definitely want an Aston Villa defender in there. The reason I've gone for Konsa over the young right back, now that Cash is injured at 4 million, is just because, as I mentioned earlier, because it's a Game Week 3 wild card, we need to be looking at the longer term as well as the short immediate fixtures, and Konsa is just less likely to lose his place than this new 4 million right back is. So I've gone for Konsa. Gabriel is not one that I would be kind of nailed on, mainly just because the next 3 fixtures aren't that great. Brighton have looked really good going forward, although I wouldn't say expect, but it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal kept a clean sheet in this game week. But then after that, it's Tottenham and then Man City. So you could always go for someone else instead of Gabriel, and then bring in Gabriel in Game Week 6 when Arsenal's fixtures get a lot better. But I've just put him in this one anyway. Then on the bench, we've got Dunk. His Game Week 4 and Game Week 5 fixtures are brilliant. He's nailed, and the new bonus point system should help him quite a lot. So I think he's just a pretty safe option. And then Mosquera of Wolves as the 4 million defender option. That again could be any of the 4 million defender options. Wolves' defence doesn't particularly look great. I don't really expect to ever have to play him here. You'll see in a second that there is 8 playing forwards, or mids and forwards, in this team, so Mosquera would likely be on the bench every single week. So that, like I say, that could be any 4 million defender. It doesn't matter too much. Okay, onto the midfielders now, and as you'll see, it is pretty stacked in the midfield this draft. So we have Saka, we have Salah, we have Palmer, the 3 kind of premium mids as such. We have Eze still, and we also have Morgan Rogers. So Saka, I think Saka is just almost a season hold, to be honest. He's not far off being as good as Salah. He's got pens. Everything he does just turns into a goal or assist. He's so dangerous whenever he gets the ball. So I think it's fine to just hold Saka throughout the whole season. Obviously, the next 3 fixtures aren't the best, as I mentioned with Gabriel, but I think just Saka looks too dangerous in every single game. So I think he's in. Salah is definitely in, as the fixtures are just brilliant over the short term. This draft, as you will see in a second, does not have Haaland. So Salah, Saka, Palmer would likely be kind of the captain options going forward, although there is a forward that you could captain as well. Palmer, Chelsea's fixtures are just brilliant, and if he's playing in that advanced 10 role like he did against Wolves, he will just lap up returns. So yeah, he's in. Eze, I'm not worried about Eze like other people are. He's had the most shots in the league so far. He just hasn't had an attacking return yet, but I'm really not worried about him. His fixtures are pretty good as well. This week, not the best with Chelsea away, although Chelsea's defence isn't exactly elite. So Eze's in. And then Rodgers at 5 million, he just looks too good to miss out on, especially given that Aston Villa have fantastic fixtures over the next 4. It literally couldn't get better. They have, I'm not sure what order it's in, but they play Leicester, they play Ipswich, they play Everton, and they play Wolves. All 4 of these teams are just shipping goals. So the midfield is stacked, but yeah, it just looks too good. Okay, moving on to the forwards now. You've got Ollie Watkins, Adam Armstrong, and João Pedro. Now, Ollie Watkins obviously makes up the triple up of Aston Villa players with Konsa, Rodgers and Watkins. I am slightly worried about Watkins' minutes. He's been coming off 70 to 75 minutes. I'm hoping that that's just a case of him getting back up to speed after coming back late from the Euros. But with Duran around now, who's a very, very capable backup, maybe we do just see Watkins coming off a bit earlier now this season. Maybe he's not the 90-minute man that he was last season. Another thing that I'm slightly worried about with all 3 of these Aston Villa players is that they play Champions League football between game week 4 and 5. So we may see their first choice 11 getting rested or taken off early a little bit more around those games, or around that game, sorry. So I am slightly worried about their minutes, but I think the fixtures are just too good to ignore. If you're on wildcard, you have to triple up on Villa. That is also a reason that Mosquera is the 4 million defender I've chosen instead of the Aston Villa right back, because I'm already tripled up on Aston Villa. Now, we have João Pedro on the bench. The reason he's on the bench obviously is because he plays Arsenal away. I don't hate playing him in this fixture, but especially if you don't have a good 8th attacker. Adam Armstrong isn't really the best 8th attacker. I'm slightly worried about his minutes because he did come off early in game week 2. I think it was around between 70 and 80 anyway. So his expected minutes are a slight worry, but you shouldn't have to play him every week given that you've got João Pedro on the bench. João Pedro's minutes have been better than expected, to be honest. I was expecting to see him around 60 to 75 each week, but he's been getting 80 and even 90 the other day. So yeah, you can bench Armstrong most weeks anyway. The obvious omission is Haaland. Now, Haaland does play Arsenal in game week 5, I think it is. So you probably don't need him in the next couple of weeks. You could then look to bring him in. You can probably roll a few transfers with this team so that you can potentially make a few moves to generate the funds to bring Haaland back in after that fixture or around the game week 7 time. But for now, I don't think you need him. I think this team looks really strong, and if I were wildcarding this week, this is roughly what I'd be going with. That wraps up this one. So if you've got any specific questions, then drop them in the comments. Make sure you do like, make sure you subscribe, it really helps, and I'll see you in the next one.